Music, for me, is a powerful instrument. It somehow connects people with God in a way that they cannot receive through words and through preaching.
Our hearts here, they're burning, your presence.
Art and music has the power to transcend the mind and go straight to the heart and to the soul. That's where God is.
Through trial and pain, in the pouring rain, we will sing. Your love never fades. A brand new day when the darkness fades. We will sing. 'Cause we know your love never fails.
My name is Father Rob Galea. I'm a part-time assistant priest here at St. Killian's in Bendigo. I've been a priest for 9 years now, and one of the things that I do is I get to serve here in the parish. I celebrate Mass, I help with weddings and funerals, and also help out things that are needed here in the parish. But another thing that I do is that I'm a musician. I'm an evangelist. And so I run a non-for-profit, a charity that works around the world evangelizing teenagers, speaking to teenagers about hope, about peace, and about finding their sense of purpose and hope in Jesus.
My name is Father Rob Galea, and this is me in just a minute. I was born and raised on this small Mediterranean island called Malta. By the age of 13, I began to rebel and lived a life of addiction, violence, and at 16 was suicidal. At 17, I had an encounter with Jesus, and that changed my life forever. I wanted to help young people to know and to love Jesus just like I did. As a seminarian, I moved to Australia for a year, and there I got invited to sing for the Pope and 500,000 people. After that event, I began to get invitations to speak and sing about Jesus all over the world. Today, I'm more determined than ever to find dynamic, engaging, and relevant ways to reach out to people to help them know and love and serve Jesus.
This is what I do with my time, and because of that, I get to travel around the world. I feel quite overwhelmed sometimes with the things that I get to do.
Take this, all of you, and drink from it. For this is the chalice of my blood, the blood of the new and eternal covenant, which will be poured out for you and for many for the forgiveness of sins. Do this in memory of me. The mystery of faith.
I'm going to be very honest with you. This year was probably the biggest year of my life. Probably was the toughest year of my life. I've traveled around the world, spoken, I've sung, been on television programs, done so many things. And I'm not saying this to boast. I'm not saying this because I'm anything better than anyone. But as the year progressed, I started to realize that my life was becoming busier, and that people were expecting and are expecting more and more things from my life. I just came back 2 days ago from the United States, my 5th trip to the United States this year. I spoke in front of 22,000 people every day. And then during the day, I spoke at schools. I did 24 events in 16 days. I stand now at the end of this incredible incredible year of success. But I start to think, at what cost? At what price have I had to pay for it through my life?
He's away a lot, but when he comes back, he just fits in so well, and we're just so lucky to have him.
May God bless you and let his
He obviously got a great gift with music, and music that appeals to the current generation. So God bless him. I don't think I'd like his schedule.
the body of Christ.
He's joyful and young and happy
Yes,
and
I've been used
all
to
that
it.
sort of thing, so he brings in a good vibe about everything.
And the younger people and the not so committed people are very impressed with him. You know, he reaches them.
Yes.
I think it's probably about the best
Yes.
way we
So,
could.
brought a bit of joy into Mass.
You can melt my heart. You can warm my cold life. You can heal my broken soul. Lord, I give myself to you. Why surrender to you? Those dark, cold places.
I'm originally from the island of Malta.
Hold me close to you.
First thing that Malta is famous for is its religion. I think we are 98% Catholic. But also the second thing that Malta is famous for is its partying. And so I was brought up in this place with a Catholic family, but also with the temptations of the partying, you know. By the time I was 14, I just used to escape from home and go to the nightclubs. I used to be snuck into the clubs, and people there were much older than I was, and that's where I started drinking, you know, just to try and catch up with the older teenagers. And I eventually started smoking, and then when that was no longer cool because everyone else was doing it, I remember buying some weed and smoking that, and from there onto harder drugs. Fast forward to when I was 16, just sitting next to a nightclub area with these guys. They were angry teenagers, just angry. And there was this 30-year-old just walking by. 10 of my friends just jumped on this guy and beat him up so badly that he was left bleeding on the floor, begging for his life first, and then passed out. I remember my thoughts at that point. I remember thinking, wow, I'm so powerful. I didn't even give it a second thought. I didn't give the fact that he might have a family, that he's dying, that he might have kids. I didn't know anything. And so things started to get worse. I continued to get into violence. I continued to get into the drugs, and I continued to do crazy things and to steal stuff from shops. But eventually this all turned against me. I'm sitting in a nightclub. A group of friends come into the club and they say, Rob, quickly get out of here because Chris, who was the head guy, is looking for you and he's gonna hurt you. And so I get up, I run to my parents' house, I knock at the door, I say, Mom, Dad, you have to hide me because these guys are looking for me. Now I'm terrified, I'm there locked in my room. For 8 weeks, I don't leave my room. And these guys, I knew what they were capable of doing. And they didn't find me, they found my best friend at the time, and they literally got his head and they smashed it against a wall and fractured his skull. And it was at this point that I really had reached the end of myself. I thought that life wasn't worth living. I thought that I didn't want to go on anymore. And it was at this time that I had to make a decision. You know, I'm either going to do something, get out of this place, or end my life.
There were many paths to follow, voices calling out your name, bringing joy, other sorrows. But all is pointless when you're alone, striding wounded and forsaken. shattered by your guilt and shame.
This is our presbytery. This is where we live. It's a very old place. This was actually the bishop's palace. And this is our kitchen. We have a few priests that live here. So I've just got back from America just a day ago. So this is my suitcase on everything all in a mess, getting ready to travel again in 2 days. And this is our chapel. This is where we have our prayer in the morning, and people call me like this pop star priest or this whatever. I couldn't care less for fame. I'm an introvert. Every time I stand in public, I feel like I'm going to get an anxiety attack. I'd much rather be hidden. But the thing is, I cannot be hidden because I've experienced this love, this joy, and I need to tell the world about it.
There's nothing worth more.
This coming week, we have what is called ACYF, Australian Catholic Youth Festival. Now, last year we had 21,000, and because it was in Sydney, this time we're going to Perth. Perth is where we're going to gather these young people, about 7,000 young people from all around Australia. And so I get to lead the music during this time, and I get to talk a little throughout this time. So my band and my team and our whole organization is going to Perth to serve our young people at this ACYF event.
My shame is undone. Your presence.
It was just 2 years ago I wrote a book. In one of the chapters, I write about this moment where I'm in my room, where I'm by myself, where I'm locked in my room and thinking that I wanted to die. And I also wrote that how I wished my parents wouldn't have just knocked at the door, but they would have just broken down that door and run towards me and held me and told me that I was going to be okay. I give this chapter to my mom and my dad, and I say, Mom, Dad, please read this because I'm going to publish this in a book. And as they read it, they call me the following week. And I said, Mom, did you read it? And she stops and she starts crying. And she says, Rob, she says, there's one thing you haven't put in your book. And she said, you couldn't put it in your book because you don't know about it. She said, we used to knock at your door. But the thing is, every time we knocked, every time you swore at us, every time you slammed the door in our face, we didn't walk away. She said, we used to fall to our knees, your dad and I, and just cry. But you see, our cry was different to your cry, you see. She said our cry was a cry to a God we believed had a hope, we knew had a future for you.
There's a certain serenity, a peacefulness about probably Rob's voice, his tone. And he was a great guy to travel with, great person to be around.
It's great, we get to travel to all sorts of places, playing to people in all different situations, so from Canada and the US to southern India and the Philippines, and I guess spreading the love of God through music, as well as Rob's ministry, and yeah, it's just a really great thing to be a part of.
Your grace is invading, your truth is unchanging, your love now revealing a love that never fails. And in everything we see your majesty, I'm captivated by your love. Through trial and pain, in the pouring rain, we will sing. Your love never fails. A brand new day when the darkness fades, we will sing. 'Cause we know your love never fails.
Perth, and this is my Archbishop, Tim Costello. My name is Michaela, I'm from Parramatta, and this is my Bishop, Bishop Vincent!
Well, we're about to go on stage, 6,000 young people from all around Australia, and I'm feeling really nervous.
Get up!
My natural instinct is to run, to hide, so I have to fight it every time. And yeah, just not comfortable in front of people, but I do it anyway.
Trouble on every side, not the street. Play, but I'm never in despair. Persecuted, but I won't be forsaken. Pressed down, but I'll never be destroyed. Let me hear you sing it out. I'm alive. 'Cause I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive in Him. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive in Him.
I find it really exciting. I think it's a really great opportunity because so often we have a negative image as the Catholic Church. So I think it's incredible that we've got someone young, someone talented, and someone with a heart for this ministry. And it's really inspiring and really encouraging.
I honestly sit here today alive as a priest. I sit here today with determination to share this peace with the world because my parents never gave up on me. They did find a way to pull me eventually to a youth group where I found a sense of community. So I found this sense of joy and the sense of peace that was growing in my heart because, you know, all of a sudden I had people who encouraged me, I had people who liked me, I had people who cared for me. It became alive, it became real, it became something that I wanted more of.
Just turn to someone and smile. Give them another high five. Let's give glory to Jesus. Amen.
When I started praying, it wasn't easy. I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know what to do. And I remember just getting a chair, sitting down on a chair, and putting another chair in front of me. And I remember the first time I did this, I tapped the chair. I said, Jesus, sit down. I want to talk to you. And I remember just sitting, just talking to this empty chair.
So, Lord, that we give you the permission these next few days to speak to our hearts.
But as I was praying on this particular day in December, I just sensed that there was someone in my room. I sensed that there was a presence there. And I didn't know what it was, but I just imagined that it could be God. I remember just getting up and feeling so angry at God. And I said, God, how dare you, you know? How dare you abandon me and allow me to go through all of this addiction and all of this pain and this abandonment? It was so real to me. But I just see like a tear coming down from the side of their face. But I get even more angry and I start to say, God, why are you crying? I should be the one crying. I should be the one who's shedding tears right now, not you. And I just stopped for this moment and I looked at this person. But I realized, you know, this was all in a split second. Even for me saying it was much longer than it actually was. But I just remember for a split second realizing that this person was looking at me and was loving me. And that tear that was going down from their face was a tear of love. But I stood up at this moment and I remember thinking, God, I want to tell the world about this. This was over 20 years ago. I've never experienced anything like that since. But my determination and that prayer that I prayed to Jesus, God, I want to tell the world, is even more so today than it ever was. Are you Maltese or Italian? Ah, there you go. That's good. Where are you guys from?
Melbourne.
We're just waiting in line to go see Father Rob Galea. Just want to get to know him, meet him, possibly take a photo. He's a treasure. Look at him. He's always making these functions fun. His songs are the best. I always listen to him at school, you know. Coming up to ACYF, his songs are always usually the ones that I listen to.
I love him. Like, my family follows him a lot. We watch his music. It's inspiring. He's really great. And yeah, we like the style of music.
He's put his modern spin onto all of the Catholic songs and made it more alive for all of us youth.
When he shares his story, his relationship with God, they're able to connect with that.
Thanks. Thanks, Ms. Brannigan. I know what it is like to live in desperation. I know what it is like to live without Jesus. But I also know what it is like to have this relationship with God. It doesn't mean your life is easy. I struggle all the time, and sometimes I feel like I'm wrestling with God. I have my doubt. I have my moments where I feel messed up. I have my moments where I want to run away from it all.
We also pray for a clarity in our minds and in our hearts. You know we're tired. You know, Lord Jesus, what we've been through this week. Lord, but you still deserve the praise. You still deserve the...
I eventually started playing music in my parish. Eventually started to play music by leading worship in our youth group. And then I got a record deal and started touring around Europe. And as I started touring around Europe, I was giving this concert in Italy. And there was this priest that walked in. And he was just so full of life and so full of joy. And I remember in the middle of a song just looking at him thinking, wow, I've never seen a priest like that. You know, it's so cool. And I started to think, like, if I will be anything like this guy, I'd consider being a priest.
3, 2, 1, go Jesus!
Eventually, I did decide to enter into the seminary, but there was a little bit of a problem because I had a girlfriend, and I had a girlfriend on and off for about 3-4 years. And it was really difficult because I had to go up to my girlfriend and say, listen, I'm thinking about the priesthood. And she cried, and I cried, and eventually we decided to end that relationship. And as I grew in this relationship with God, then I just wanted to share this with others. When I was in the seminary, I was studying for the priesthood, and what happens is, as part of the seminary, we get a gap year. So there was a bishop, a Maltese bishop, who was the bishop of this place, of this diocese. I said, Bishop, listen, I have this gap year. Do you have a place for me? I wanted to experience the church differently to Malta. And I came to this place, Bendigo, here in Victoria. And it was a small parish, and I loved it. I love the people. I love the way the church needed people to go out rather than people flocking into the church. And I started visiting schools, and I started going out to hospitals, and I thought, no, this is where I want to spend my life.
I'm coming. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. The Father's arms are open.
But I'm going to use whatever it takes to tell people about this joy, that they may experience even just a glimpse of what I have experienced of the love of God. Because I don't know God. I'm a priest. I've been a priest for 8 years. I don't know much about God, but all I know is just a little glimpse of Him
is enough to change a life forever.
Amen. God bless you. Have a safe journey home. May God's face shine upon you and give you peace. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Next time on Compass.
Today is the day the coronavirus epidemic hit my Loaves and Fishes free restaurant. We've had to close this centre. Close it. Just close it.
Because when you take away the charities, you take away the places they shower, they eat, they get a little bit of extra rest, what are they going to do?
We're stopping Holy Communion because that's the first thing Jesus would say. We're not for the middle class people who can stay home and isolate themselves. We're for people who have got nowhere to go but here. The truth is we cannot shut down.
Bill Cruz versus coronavirus. Next time on Compass.